What if we never stood up? It's a big question. Our whole world, everything we built, it all started with that one move. Standing up. Imagine if we just did it. Think about it. We're here talking and living because our ancestors started walking on two legs. This meant our hands were free, it meant our eyes were higher up, it changed everything. But what if that never happened? What if our species, our line, stayed on four limbs, or maybe a modified version of it? Let's picture it. Our ancestors, the ones who were going to become us, they just keep moving on all fours. Maybe they are more like a gorilla, a big, powerful knuckle walker, or maybe more like a chimp with strong arms for climbing and decent ground movement. For this thought experiment, let's imagine them as big, strong ground dwellers. Their bodies would be different. Our bodies, if we hadn't become bipedal, would be very different. Our spine, for example, it wouldn't be that S-shaped curve that helps us stand upright. It will be more of a C shape, like most mammals. It will be built for supporting organs horizontally, not stacking them vertically. Our pelvis would be wider, different. It would brace our back legs for powerful pushes, not cup our organs and support an upright torso. Our legs wouldn't be long, pillar-like structures. They would be shorter, thicker, more muscular. They would be designed for propulsion, for running, for climbing, but always in conjunction with the front limbs. And our feet. They wouldn't be rigid arches for pushing off. They might still be grasping feet, more like a hand. Or maybe they would develop into something flatter, broader, more stable for spreading weight. But they wouldn't be the specialized walking machines we have now. This brings us to the biggest change, the hands. Our hands right now are incredible. They can do delicate work, hold things, throw things. They can write, they can build, all because they don't have to carry our weight. But if we never stood up, our front limbs, our hands or forepaws, they would still be used for walking. They would need to be strong, they would need to support our body weight, but they would probably be heavier, thicker. They might still have opposable thumbs, yes, but those thumbs wouldn't be as fine-tuned. They'd be more for grasping branches, for balance, for maybe picking up a big stone. Not for threading a needle. So, how would these quadrupedal intelligent beings live? How would they make tools? This is where it gets really tricky. Think about making a sharp stone tool. You need to hold one stone firmly, then strike it precisely with another. Our hands do this so well. A quadruped would have to kneel, or perhaps sit, using their back legs for balance. And then their front limbs, designed for walking, would need to do the striking. It would be clumsy, it would be less efficient. Tool making would be much slower, much less refined. We might still see basic tools, stones for cracking nuts, maybe bigger branches used as clubs. But no fine blades, no intricate carvings. The very act of holding and manipulating would be a physical challenge. This means technology would progress at a snail's pace or take a completely different path. Imagine trying to build a fire. You need to gather kindling, stack wood, maybe rub sticks together. Doing this while mostly on four limbs would be awkward. They might use their teeth more or their powerful forelimbs. But the dexterity wouldn't be there for quick, efficient fire starting. Fire would still be discovered, surely. Lightning strikes happen, but harnessing it, controlling it, using it would be a much harder task. Cooking would be different. Food preparation would be simpler. And shelter? Building a hut or a simple lean-to needs hands. It needs to lift branches, weave things, secure them. Our quadrupedal relatives might rely on natural shelters more. Caves would be important. Dense thickets for sleeping. Maybe they would learn to pile up large stones with sheer strength rather than precision. But no complex architecture, no intricate dwellings. Their settlements would be much simpler, more temporary. What about families? Raising kids? Our bipedalism allowed mothers to carry infants, keeping them safe while still moving and foraging. A quadrupedal mother would have fewer options. She might carry the infant on her back, like some apes do. Or the infants would cling to her fur. This means infants might need to be more developed at birth, able to cling on tightly. Or the group would have to stay in one place longer, protecting the more vulnerable young ones. The child rearing would be a constant juggle of protection and movement. This could mean smaller family units or much larger, more protective groups. The language development would still happen. Intelligence is not just about standing up. But how would it manifest? Our language, our communication is also tied to our body language. The way we gesticulate with our hands, the way our faces express emotion, unhindered by having to constantly watch the ground. A quadrupedal species would communicate with different body signals, more tail wags if they had tails. more ear movements, different vocalizations. Their faces might be more muzzle-like, with less emphasis on the subtle facial expressions we rely on. Moving around the world would also be different. Our ability to walk long distances efficiently on two legs helped us spread across continents. A quadrupedal species might be excellent runners, but their energy demands could be higher for the same distance. They might stick to certain environments, dense forests where they could climb and find protection, or open grasslands where speed is key, but they might not colonize every niche on Earth. The vast deserts, the icy tundras, might remain untouched by them. And hunting. Our bipedal ancestors could throw spears. They could use their height to spot prey. A quadrupedal hunter would need different strategies. They would rely on speed, stealth, ambush. Their teeth and claws would be their primary weapons. They might develop complex group hunting strategies, coordinating their movements. But the long-distance precision of a thrown spear would be absent. This would shape their diet, their prey, and their interactions with other animals. What about our brains? Would they have grown as big? Our big brains are expensive. They use a lot of energy. One theory is that bipedalism helped by making foraging more efficient and allowing for more diverse foods. It also freed up energy for brain development. If bipedalism never happened, the energy equation might be different. Perhaps their brains would be smart, but not as big as ours. Or maybe their intelligence would manifest in a different way. Incredible spatial memory, amazing sense of smell, keen hearing, a different kind of genius. Their understanding of the world would also be shaped by their physical form. We see the world from about 5 or 6 feet up. We literally look down on things. A quadrupedal being would see the world from closer to the ground. Smells would be more prominent. The subtle movements of insects, the texture of the soil, these would be more immediate. Their maps of the world might be more about scent trails and ground textures than distant landmarks. Art and culture would be profoundly changed. Our art often depicts figures standing tall. Our architecture reaches for the sky. What would their art be like? Would they carve into the ground? Would they create intricate patterns by arranging natural objects? Their sculptures might be flat or sprawling. Their paintings might be done with their forepaws, pressing mud or berries onto surfaces. Maybe they would develop incredible oral traditions, stories told around a simple fire, relying on memory and sound rather than written records. No writing, that's a big one. Holding a stylus, making precise marks on a surface. This requires fine motor control that would be hard to develop if your hands are still mostly for walking. Communication would stay largely verbal, gestural, and mnemonic. Complex scientific ideas, philosophical treatises, they would all have to be memorized and passed down. This limits the accumulation of knowledge over generations in the same way we do. No libraries, in our sense. No vast archives of written history. Society itself would likely be less hierarchical in the complex ways we see today. Without the ability to build massive structures, create complex tools, and accumulate vast amounts of wealth through agriculture and trade, their societies might remain more egalitarian. Small groups, perhaps tribes that move with the seasons, their interactions would be based more on immediate needs, on the strength of their community bonds, rather than the abstract concepts of ownership and power that our societies developed. And what about the impact on the planet? We've changed the Earth profoundly. Our cities, our agriculture, our industries, all of it stems from our ability to manipulate the environment with our free hands. A quadrupedal species, even an intelligent one, would have a much lighter footprint. They wouldn't build dams, clear vast forests for farming, or dig deep mines for resources. Their technology wouldn't allow it. They would live more in harmony with nature because they would be physically bound to it in a way we are not. Their settlements would be temporary, their tools natural, their impact minimal. They might develop a deep understanding of ecology, of animal behavior, of plant cycles, out of sheer necessity. Their knowledge would be practical, directly linked to survival. Their science would be observation, pattern recognition, and shared wisdom passed down through stories and practical demonstrations. No complex mathematics, no telescopes, no microscopes. The universe would be understood through direct experience, through the senses. Think about cities. Our cities are vertical. They rise up. A quadrupedal species would likely have very different kinds of settlements. They would spread out closer to the ground, maybe a complex network of burrows or carefully maintained clearings under dense canopies. Their movement patterns would dictate their architecture. Roads, if they existed, would be wide tracks, not narrow paths. They would be designed for 4-footed movement, not 2. And war? If they couldn't throw weapons, couldn't build fortifications, how would conflict happen? It would likely be more direct, more brutal, claws, teeth, powerful slams, or perhaps complex intimidation displays. Maybe territorial disputes would be settled through ritualized combat rather than full-scale war. Conflict itself would be shaped by their physicality. Our sense of self, our place in the cosmos, is often linked to our unique bipedal form. We see ourselves as separate, as masters of our domain. A quadrupedal species might have a more integrated view. They would feel more connected to the ground, to the animals, to the forest. Their spirituality might be deeply animistic, rooted in the earth and its creatures. No towering cathedrals reaching for the heavens. Perhaps sacred groves, ancient stones, places of natural power. It's hard to wrap our heads around, isn't it? Every single thing we know about being human, it's tied to standing up. Our ability to see over the grass, to carry food, to free our hands for tools, to look each other in the eye. All of it. If that one shift never happened, everything else would ripple out from there. A completely different world. A completely different us. We would not be talking about complex physics, about space travel, about the internet. We would be talking about how to find the juiciest roots, how to track the fastest deer, how to build the warmest nest. Our challenges would be primal, direct. Our triumphs would be simpler, more immediate. We would be intelligent, yes, but our intelligence would be applied to different problems within different limits. The sheer scale of human achievement, for good and for ill, is deeply rooted in our upright posture and the free hands it gave us. Without that, the human story, or whatever that story would be called, would be written on a completely different page. A page of ground-level observation, physical strength, and a slower, more deliberate connection to the world around them. It really makes you think about how one small change can change absolutely everything.